Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the original Intersex Connect Live. I'm Jesf Benedict, and today I am at the center, the LGBTQ Center of Southern Nevada, once again. I'm in the Cosmopolitan Las Vegas meeting room, and we have a very special guest today. But before we get into that, today is the kickoff of Transgender Week of Awareness. So we have a special show that deals with that. Because there are some intersections between being intersex and being transgender. A good example is if you're intersex and you go to your doctor and you say, my body does not agree with the sex on my birth certificate, your doctor's going to tell you you're crazy. What I've been told. I've been told I was crazy, I'm lying, that doesn't happen, it's impossible, and various things like that. If you go to a doctor and you're transgender and you say my brain doesn't correspond with the sex of my body, then they put you on what's called the W path here in America, which is like 3 years of psychological counseling and things like that. So we both are treated as if we have psychological issues and that they need to be corrected. So that is one intersection of where intersex and transgender comes together. One of the most outstanding differences between intersex and transgender is our medical needs. Our medical needs are wholly and wholeheartedly different than those of people in the transgender area. We have medical situations that can be prevented with proper medical care. We have certain medical conditions that come up because either we weren't born with all the parts or we were born with extra parts, or I don't want to call it extra parts because we're not extra. We were born normal. But the thing is that there are some huge places where we come together. Like when an intersex person goes to a doctor, they're going to automatically start treating them as if they're transgender. And when a transgender person asks the doctor if they might be intersex, they're going to tell them that that doesn't exist. So there's all sorts of commonality, but there's also a lot of differences as well. Because being intersex is a biological chromosomal situation, whereas you're born that way and you can't change your biology. Like everybody always says, well, you can't change your biology. It's like, yeah, you're correct, I cannot. But transgender could also be attributed to this situation, whereas the hormones, sex hormones, are sent to the groin 4 weeks before the sex hormones are sent to the brain. And a lot can happen in that 4 weeks to the mother, like realizing she's pregnant and not drinking anymore, or whatever, things like that can affect the gender that your brain got, or the sex hormones that your brain got and the sex hormones that your groin got don't always match up. So, but anyway, my whole point here today is that I'm constantly trying to impress upon the intersex community that are so dead set against being considered transgender that nobody should be treated like they are transgender. Nobody, I mean, I've talked to a lot of transgender people. Nobody on the planet deserves to be treated the way they are treated. So to that end, I have brought in a very special guest. They were a participant at Stonewall. And if you don't know what Stonewall is, you owe it to yourself to find out. It was a riot, a real riot, a Stonewall riot. And it was the uprising of the LGBTQ community in the New York area. And you really need to look it up. Stonewall Forever, the video on YouTube will tell you a lot about that. But hopefully we're going to spend more time talking about Judy than Stonewall today. So if we can run the video, Maestro. So, ladies and gentlemen, our special guest today is Judy Bowenwiener. And if we can bring Judy in, that would be awesome.
Hi.
Hi, Judy. So I
Good
can't thank you
morning.
enough for being a part of
Oh,
this.
it's my pleasure to be here. I love you.
Oh, I love you too. I'm absolutely honored that a participant of Stonewall would actually be on my show. Um, so, but before we get going, I always have to ask this question because it bugs the crap out of me. As we just saw, you have been a beautiful, stunningly beautiful woman for decades. Do you ever stop being transgender?
I've always been me. I can never remember being any different than I am now. Physically, I might have looked different, but I've always been me. I had to overlook a lot of abuse, verbal and physical. I almost died a few times. My life has not been heaven.
Yeah. Well, and to
I
that point,
become
if I can interrupt you, so that we can put this into a flow, not a lot of people know that you were born into abject poverty.
No,
I
they
believe it
don't.
was in the mountains of Virginia, was it?
A little town called Gate City, Virginia.
Yeah.
I lived in a predominantly black community, and I was abused and hated by a lot of people because if you lived at that time, the racist, if you lived in a black area, you were a white trash. And I had to learn well, I was very lucky to grow up there and be around and subjected to living in different environments because it made me stronger and made me realize that what was wrong with the world. And even in our gay movement, we had great people like Bayard Rustin, who was also a speechwriter for Martin Luther King. But the two fights for human rights were very intertwined with each other.
Right. So, how did you get out of that little town in Virginia?
Virginia. Well,
Did your family kick you out because you weren't abiding by the binary, or did you just take off?
no, I had to live. I had to live that way. And when we moved to Tennessee, and eventually I went to University of Tennessee, and I realized that I didn't even fit in there because I could not live in a boys' dormitory. So I lived off campus with another transsexual. So from there, I met a lot of people from New York who said, it's not safe for you here. You should leave. And because I was at one event where three white men were at this trans event, and three white men basically stood up and started stabbing people with knives. So this was at the University of Tennessee, and after it was all over, the apartment was a bloody mess, and we could not even call the police because the police would not like it because we were in a racially mixed environment. That's how bad it really was. No one really realized how bad racist America is. And
Well, you
after,
have mixed heritage as well, do you not?
yes, I am.
Okay. And so you've kind of seen it from both sides at
I
this
do.
point.
I do. Thank God. Thank
Yes.
God.
And it gives you a much better understanding of how harmful it is.
Yes.
And um, some of the most innocent things can be extremely harmful to people because people just been doing it forever. So why not, right? So,
Oh, yeah.
but,
Yes.
but
No, I think the society, and it hasn't changed that much. Um, People will attack the people that are downtrodden. If you're a minority, or if you're gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender, we all become targets of other people's hate. And they figure, well, they can attack us because nothing will be done anyway, which is a reality. A lot of people that get murdered that are of black or whatever, or uh, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, they're not properly protected, and they're not in their deaths are not really investigated to the full extent of the law.
Well,
Because-
yes, because they use dead names and everything, and they investigate so poorly that they're trying to find out information about somebody that hasn't existed for several years, and they've been
That's right.
somebody else, and so they never actually get to the bottom of it, nor do they care.
That's right.
And so that's a horrible thing. So I'm kind of curious. So you ended up in college in Tennessee. Were you going with scholarships, or were you paying your own way? How did you do
No,
that?
I did not even have food. So I had to work in local restaurants to even have food. And then I got a job working in the reserve book department where this was limited edition items. So people would come there for research materials. No one ever came in there. So I was in the room all evening by myself. So I would research transgender items, things that I wondered about, but there was nothing really authentic that I could touch on. So
Yeah. This was the
not-
late 50s, right?
yes,
Yeah, so in
Actually,
the late 50s,
the-
they probably didn't have a lot of information, did they?
no, they didn't. And now though we live in a different world where there's a lot of printed matter on research of trans people and all different groups that belong to that spectrum. So now we have more of sources of information, like Google.
Yes, the internet kind of blew the lid off all that, didn't it?
When I want to find out something about myself, I Google it.
There you go.
It's amazing.
All right, so now you went to college and you're working your butt off to get yourself through college and even eat. And you graduated, right?
No,
No?
I left after a while because after the knifing incident, from someone from New York said, you should get out of here, or you're going to end up dead. And so
Right.
I went to New York to visit at Christmas time in Long Island,
Or-
and I did not go back.
yeah, I
it's-
never went back to Tennessee after that.
Survival is key to, everybody has to survive and live. And if you're in danger, you just better run.
Well, yeah, so like the area you moved to in New York, it wasn't really safe though, was it?
It was not safe for anybody that was cross-dressing.
Right.
We were all illegal, gays, lesbians, bisexual, transgender people, we were all illegal. It wasn't legal to cross-dress anywhere. But in major cities, the forces came down with the police department to attack us. And we were not treated very nicely. I saw many raids in Long Island, not Long Island, but in the West Village.
Raiding the gay bars and
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Yeah.
I was in a club one night. I was just coming home from work where I was working as Judy. I was what I am now. And the police came in and they said, "What are you doing in here?" I said, I came in to visit. And they said, "Get out of here, get out of here." This was on West 4th Street. And as soon as I got outside, I heard the doors lock and I heard screaming. They were beating up all the people that were inside. This was before Stonewall, I think. But
Yeah.
all the bars were being attacked because they were basically owned by the mafia, because the mafia was the only people that would, they were making a lot of money out of the gay community because they served cheap alcohol, and there was no complaints because we all wanted to place together and communicate with each other as human beings. And the police, it was a very corrupt system. They all got paid off by the mafia to leave the clubs alone. And if they didn't get payment, they would later they would raid the place. And if the place got raided and they took your name down, it was all over the newspapers. You could lose your job, you could lose your family.
So they tried to embarrass you as much as they could.
That's what it was all about. Public humiliation.
So I'm trying to get a picture of this where you go to the gay bar to get a drink after work, and the police are literally locking the doors so people can't get out and beating the crap out of them with billy clubs and
But yes,
flashlights and whatever.
this happened more than once.
And were
But that
you
incident,
a
I've
vic-
never been able to forget that.
No, I bet, because you dodged a beating by a hair.
Well, because they thought I was genetic female.
Yes.
If you could
Thank God.
pass, if you could pass, you were safe. If you didn't pass, you could be subjected to a lot of physical and verbal humiliation.
So were you personally beaten by the police at any point?
I was hit in the stomach with a billy stick. I think I still have on my left side, I have a rib that's out of place.
Yeah. I got
Um,
hit in the head with a billy club. I still have the bump.
do you?
Yeah.
It's also been subjected to, we're just living our reality. We just want to be free. We are all human beings. Leave us alone. But we weren't even allowed that. The atrocities that the gay and lesbian community went through, and the atrocities that the black communities went through, is unforgivable. I am so ashamed of what happened to so many people during that day. So many people that I saw die or commit suicide because they could not fit in. See, the whole goal was for us all to fit in
Yeah.
and be happy. And the ones who could not bear the abuse usually committed suicide.
That's horrifying. That's absolutely horrifying.
But it's a
Um,
reality. There's a high suicide rate among transgender people because in the early days, it's getting better.
it's still way worse than it should be. And
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
because of how everybody says, well, because they're mentally ill. It's not because they're mentally ill. It's because of how they're treated.
You know, that mentally, yeah, they used to say that we needed shock therapy, and um, they wanted to give me shock therapy when I was like 11 years old or 10 or 11. And thank God I had a mother that knew what I was and accepted me. And she
Amen.
said, no, yes, my mother was my savior.
I know intersex person that personally went through shock therapy because they didn't align with their gender assigned at birth, and so yeah, they put intersex people through the what do they call it? Gender reassignment,
Yes.
gender conversion therapy. That's what I'm trying to think of, and they literally put intersex people through that same thing with the regular shock therapy and try and get them to conform to the biological sex that they think they should conform to.
But you know,
So
thank God we've got people that are transgender people who are in Congress now. We have a political system that acknowledges people for people. Uh, and it's great because we have one transgender person. She's in Congress now, and we have transgender people on the uh, uh, city councils. When I was living a stealth life, I was publishing a weekly newspaper, and I belonged to. And no one knew who I was, so I was appointed to a community board in New York for 16 years. I was on community board number 2, serving Sunnyside, Woodside, Long Island City. Why? Because I was a community activist working for the good of the community. And that's the way everyone has a right to do. Uh, I was on that board for 16 years, and Long Island City is a great development now, high rise density, and I had a restaurant there for 25 years.
that's awesome.
And I sold it in '99 and moved here. My husband is not well. I'm his caregiver, and he has trouble walking. And so I'm thankful for that because it helps me focus on what my priorities are in life.
Now that will do that. And so going back, when you moved to the New York area, was there a GLB movement already going on at that time?
Yes, I lined myself up with the Gay Activist Alliance because I knew Philip Rea. He was an opera singer. He's the one that let me live there in his apartment on 16 Christopher Street because he was going on tour. He was doing Don Giovanni at Lincoln Center, and he basically probably saved my life because if I had stayed in Long Island, I would probably have either been murdered or I would have killed myself because it was really bad. But in the village, in the West Village, I found a group called Transsexuals Anonymous. We all went to the same doctor, and we got this little group together. This was Transsexuals Anonymous was a group of transsexuals who basically were stealth, and we fit into living a straight life, a stealth life. So we had our meetings there, and all these girls they worked in different mafia nightclubs, and they were making good money. And like myself, we found avenues to invest and become self-supporting, uh, and that made our lives much better.
I
I
think
got
it's
very,
great that you actually had financial responsibility
oh,
through living through hell. You're like, well, I still have a future and I'm going to make sure I
oh, you
prepare for
gotta,
it.
everybody has to make a future for themselves. But if you go through a lot of abuse, it makes you more projected into creating a reality for yourself. I love working. I'm 77 years old, but I still work.
Jay,
And
you don't stop. You're
I don't
busier than I
stop
am.
because you know what? If you slow down, you die.
I agree with that statement.
And when I have time to work in the community, I do. Like today, we're doing the Transgender Film Festival here at the center. Yesterday, we opened up a medical facility here. I named it Arlene Cooper. Arlene Cooper was a woman that worked for years for our community. She
Yeah.
worked with AIDS in the 60s and 70s, and but it was quite a nice event. But they have a complete facility here for handling medical issues for all of our people, all of our community.
Yeah, that's awesome. That just opened yesterday. Is that right?
Yes, I was
Yes.
honored to be there. It was really quite nice. I
No, I
came
should
with
have been there.
Dr. Jason Flatt from UNLV. He was there as well, and thank God we have the UNLV here because UNLV is very progressive and they work with us. Dr. Brocious and Dr. Sarah Jordan, uh, a lot of great people, and they're very active in our community. And
Amen
we
for that.
and we get support from all sides with UNLV.
That's good. All right. So going back, I want to keep on track on how this all goes. How did you meet Marsha P. Johnson?
Well, I was at 16 Christopher Street, and I was going to work during the day as a male because I had a job where I worked. I had I had long hair, but I had to wear a suit and tie every day. And Marsha said to me one day, because she usually saw me in dresses and clothes, 'cause I worked at a club called Tango Palace as well at night. It was a place where they accepted transgender people. I was a dancer. I was a taxi dancer, and they accepted transgender people as long as they could create a nice following of people who would come there frequently and spend a lot of money. But Marsha saw me one day going to work, and I had a two-piece suit on, and she said, "Where are you going, Miss Thing?" I said, it's my day job today. I'm going to work." But I loved her because Marsha was loved by everyone. She would offer you advice. And you know what was nice about Marsha though, she was always there. I see her coming down Christopher Street, and we would go for coffee. Uh, I lived at 16 Christopher Street, a corner of Gay and Christopher, and she was a pleasure. And she got murdered it was in 1992. She was walking. She was walking to the. She was walking probably down to Christopher Street, but she got she was murdered because Marsha would never commit suicide, but they found her floating in the East River.
And they put it down as a suicide.
Yes,
Yeah.
but Marsha didn't like the water, and I couldn't either because we all
Right.
talked. I don't swim. I love the ocean, but I don't swim.
Right. I
But
love swimming and the ocean and all that.
oh,
So
I love the sound of the ocean.
there you go. We got that in the
Yeah.
background right here.
Oh yeah, it's a
I
busy
think
place.
it's my fault.
It's a
Uh,
busy little place here today.
yeah, it is. So, all right. So met Marsha, and how long was that before Stonewall happened, the riot?
About the same time. In
Okay.
the same time, about the same time.
Right. So now you were involved in the Stonewall riot, and did you get beat up or?
Oh, no, no. I was working that night at the Tango Palace, and I was coming back, and I was there, and I quickly got away because I knew what was going to happen. So I quickly got away, and I was within a block from my apartment. So as soon as I think I got away just in time because that's when all the police cars started coming, and they started the raid. But I ran home and locked myself in my apartment because
Survival is a strong instinct.
oh yeah, and we knew it was coming down. The rumor in the street was, oh, they're going to hit Stonewall tonight, and I tried to avoid any place where there was going to be trouble. I don't drink alcohol and I don't smoke cigarettes because I have asthma, but uh, they always look at you weird if you're ordering a Diet Pepsi. You know, you're
You've
not
never
really.
drank alcohol?
I did at one point in my life, but I really don't like it.
Well,
I
that's
was
good.
I was brought up down south in a religious environment, so drinking and smoking was kind of considered taboos, and I I don't really like alcohol, and
That's good.
I don't like the smell of cigarettes either. Asthmatics should stay away from cigarettes. You know, it's not good.
Yeah, definitely that. So, the riots lasted what, a day and a half, 2 days, something
A
like
day
that?
and
Is
a
that right?
half, a day and a half, and at that time, the gay activists and all the gay groups were getting together, and about that same time, they had a meeting with the governor, the Rockefeller Five, that was members of the Gay Activist Alliance, wearing the Lambda sign. They were doing a sit-in at the governor's office, and they were all arrested. But those people with the uh, the Gay Activist Alliance were quite instrumental in trying to achieve something that would be given back to our community. But when it came down to it, though, after there was agreements made, they eliminated transgender because, um, and we weren't really supported very well at that time by the HRC. But we were kind of taken off the list during the negotiations because it was easy to pass into a law if it was for gay and lesbians. Transgender people have always been thrown under the bus.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I don't understand it because they've been around through all of history.
And we're human beings. We'll always be here.
Absolutely.
We are what we are, and we have a right to be what we are, and that's the way it is.
Yeah. So after the riots, like the weeks following or whatever, did anything change?
No, it did not. It did not. A lot of things happened. There was I'm trying to remember the name of the place. It was a place called the Snake Pit. It was raided, and a gay gentleman had to jump from the window of the second floor, and he landed on one of the spikes, and he died. No, the harassment never quite ended.
No.
People thought it did, but it didn't. And I basically stayed away from certain areas, and I found it safer being as a transsexual. I found it safer to just work, make money, go on. I figured I was safer.
Don't make any waves kind of thing.
That's
'Cause,
that's the reality.
yeah. So back in those days, they didn't have a thing called the W path that they have now, did they?
No.
Because giving you hormones would have been against the law for the doctor to give you hormones. Is that correct?
Well, I had Dr. Harry Benjamin, who was quite noted during that time. He was my doctor, and He was up in the 70s in Manhattan. So everything went well. My psychotherapy, everything was, I was okay. And I was living and working as a female.
Right. So, but you didn't have to go through all the 3 years of psychological counseling and stuff like that, like people do now, right?
No, they try to say that you did, but I was living and working as a female, and no, I didn't have to. Only once did I have to go for therapy with Wardell Pomeroy psychotherapy, and he basically approved my surgery.
That's good. So, how old were you when you had your confirmation surgery?
I think it was 23,
Yeah.
and now I'm
Yeah.
77.
Wow. So that was a while ago.
Oh yeah, I've had quite a good life. I'm thankful to God.
Yeah,
I'm so
amen to
thankful to
that.
God for my life and everything and the people that I've met and the everything that I've been involved with in my life. I'm very thankful to God for that. And I really do believe that all along the way, do you believe in guardian angels?
Oh yeah.
Well, whenever I was having my bad times, suddenly somebody would come into my life that gave me guidance, who saw me over over an obstacle or helped me through a certain crisis that I was having.
Right.
And God was always with me. I'm just glad that I've lived to be 77. I want to live to be at least 90.
There you go. I
My
can't wait.
family, my family has. I think if you grow up poor, this is just my theory, that if you grow up in an abusive lifespan, a period, and it makes you stronger. And even today, I have my days when I don't walk very well, and I have trouble getting up. But if I have something to do, like something for an individual or a community, I will eventually get up out of bed and I'll make it to whatever I have to do.
Yeah, you're always there, aren't you?
You know what? I don't want to die. I don't want to die in bed.
Yeah, I can relate to that emotion.
Uh,
Like
I
I
don't,
always say, I want it to be like sudden and tragic. It's like, but they were fine yesterday.
yeah, and I think we could do. Speaking from my perspective, I think it's come to the day when transsexuals can do anything they want to do, like Miss Nevada.
Yes,
What an
that's an
amazing!
amazing
Oh,
accomplishment.
she's she raised us to a new standard, and
Absolutely.
she's helped us see that there's no limit. And
Right.
every time I see that a trans person is elected to a political office, I say, right on, that's the way to go.
Now,
Because visibility is our key.
yeah,
And people begin to realize that we are different, that we are people, we are human beings, we have a right to lead our lives, we have a right to progress and do anything that we want to do.
absolutely.
I think that life is getting better for the GLBTQIA community. It,
That's good.
we're all in this together. And
Yeah,
the
we are.
world,
We're all fighting for human rights because we all want to be
oh,
treated the same as any other human gets treated.
if we could just straighten out the government.
That, and I won't go into my theory there because it'll probably cause trouble. Um, but wholesale cleaning of the government is what's required.
Yes, something.
And because,
But the human nature, though, is people are beginning to realize that people are people and accept them and love them for what they are. And I'm really happy with groups like it's one's called Gender Cool from Chicago. It's trans people that are in high school, and we have a group here in Vegas called Trans Diversity in the Schools with a woman, Laura Hernandez, who has made great strides in here in Vegas, changing the laws in the school system, where high school kids can go to school as trans,
that's good.
and it's that's what it's all about. We've got to
Well,
get
yes, because they want to survive. That's all.
yeah, and achieve great lives, be doctors, be lawyers.
Yeah. So, you are an accountant, right? Or have worked as an
I,
accountant?
I have, but I basically have a restaurant management business. Well, I was for 25 years in New York, and uh,
So
I
tell me about your restaurant, if you would. What
well,
was it
I
called?
in New York, in Long Island City, Queens. It was Judy's Cafe. It was Italian food. It's right across from what's now the Citibank Tower, 57-story tower. I was on the community board when that building went up, and 57 stories. The whole area is nothing but high-rise density buildings now. But when that building went up, I soon realized that, oh my God, my property values are unbelievable. And
Mm,
my mother passed away in 1998, and I went back to Tennessee to attend her funeral. And about that same time, my husband started having issues with his health, and I said, well, if we sell this place, we could go anywhere we want to. I said, where in Florida would you like to live? Because I like to be near the water, even though I don't swim. He said, no, I want to move to Vegas. I said, okay, I'll, I'll, I'll fly to Vegas and find a house. And I brought him here in a wheelchair. He can walk now, but he has a little instability walking. And
I can relate to that.
yeah,
But
we all have issues. We all
yeah,
have,
we sure do.
but it's
So,
okay.
in your restaurant, did you um, experience any uh, abuse or anything for being transgender? And
No
I'm
one knew.
assuming that
No one
you,
knew that I was.
no,
I
okay,
stopped telling. The secret for people, especially during those times, is don't broadcast your sexuality.
right.
And
That gets you killed.
one of the favorite questions people asking me is, "Do you have any children?" I said, well, "Yes, I have two girls. They live in Florida." You make up a story
Right.
because you know they're not going to leave you alone unless you say you have at least one or two children.
Yeah. How come you
So,
don't have kids yet?
but it's funny though. It's all about survival though, and we try to we try to fit a program where we'll be accepted.
Right. So
That
at your restaurant, did you focus on hiring GLB community
yes,
members or?
my manager was GLBTQ.
And so, but having the unique group of people in that area at your restaurant um, wasn't didn't turn into a big problem.
No, I just never talked about myself.
Right.
That was hard to do, but I just basically lived in my own little world, and I was on the community board. I published the newspaper, and that was my little world. I was even president of the Lions Club. I was the
Right.
first woman elected president of the oldest Lions Club in New York.
I love it.
If they had known, they were. I don't know how it stands now, but I've often wondered because a lot of those people are still friends with me.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, even in high school, I have friends who are still friends with me now on Facebook.
That's awesome.
And one came back and said to me, "I'm so glad you achieved your happiness."
There you go. That's what it's all
That meant
about.
that meant so much to me.
Yes. Because all anybody ever wants to be is happy.
Oh, we just want to live our reality and work with everybody. It's a human right.
Yeah.
Um, Human rights are very important, and we're supposed to be such a democratic society. Uh, uh, we need to be more progressive in creating more human rights for everybody. Stop the,
Yes.
stop the prejudice.
Yeah, you got the military people, some of them that are prejudiced and whatnot are like, well, I nearly died for your freedom. It's like, well, not mine, because apparently you don't like my freedom. And it's like, you died for everybody's freedom, not just cisgender people.
It's just one race, the human race.
That one.
I uh, I am really, really horrified at what I've seen the black community go through in this country. Oh my God, people that fought in wars were guaranteed housing after the World War II, and after they got out of the army, they weren't given housing.
Right. I am a little bit behind the eight ball on that, on racism towards black people. I mean, I'm catching up quick, but um, I was raised by some of the most racist people I've ever met in my life. And so I've had a lot to learn
Oh
and
yeah,
overcome. And what I've learned is like, I don't know, it's so depressing and disheartening that the way that the colored people have been treated as far as you can only be here and you can't work here and you can't do that. And it's a, there's a,
oh, and Joseph, you know what's really a shame? True history you cannot read in school books. A lot
right.
of stuff was eliminated. So it's really a shame that school textbooks are so whitewashed and doctored to conceal the truth about racism and transphobia. Um, it's it's just not the way to go. But our country is so ashamed of some of the atrocities that's been committed. Look what we did to the American Indian.
Yeah. And that one, like, I went to an amazing school apparently in Littleton, Colorado, because we learned about the Trail of Tears. We actually took a field trip out to where the trail was, and it's like in the middle of the prairie. It's grass, and there wasn't really much to see. But um, and I learned about those things in school, and I'm amazed by people that have never even heard of the Trail of Tears,
I
or have
know,
never heard of Stonewall, or all these other situations that it's like, really, how do you not know this? I mean,
I know. That's. I'm in shock sometimes when I'm talking to younger people, and they don't really know what it was like. And it's. I just wish that uh, more younger people. I wish this was taught in the schools because everybody deserves to know the truth because it makes broadens their mind to thinking about people that they meet and the future of future of all of us.
there you go. And yeah, I mean, it's it's getting better, but it's still dangerous. And
But things are getting better though. I
a
can,
little bit, a little
yeah,
bit. And if I have anything to say about it, it's going to get even better. Um,
that's good.
and what you said about it definitely makes it better. I want to ask you though, when you first moved to Las Vegas, um, was there a transgender community that you became a part of, or did you create it
Um,
yourself?
the Gay and Lesbian Center here, the Southern Nevada Gay and Lesbian Center, has been always been open to all. In the 1999, I went to the Gay and Lesbian Center, which was on Sahara, and I think I was their first trans member of the board of directors. But um, I I've been involved as much as I can. Uh, it's growing. It's getting better now. The new center here on Maryland Parkway is amazing. And John Waldman, who is the director here, we're working with groups like Opportunity Village. We just had a showing recently of the new Opportunity Village called Betty's Village. It was 72 apartments that were built for Opportunity Village. And Chase and Flat from UNLV, we're having a housing conference in February. And we're hoping to somehow build that same unit for the GLBTQIA community. Um, it's affordable housing where people can live,
The
and
affordable housing is pretty tight around here.
it's going to get worse. And
Wow.
so the homeless situation here is getting worse and worse every day,
Oh, that's horrible.
especially for especially for minority groups like us.
Yeah, that's a horrible thing, isn't it?
Yes.
So now you got your hands in like everything.
Well, I try to
Um,
keep busy.
yeah,
We all have to create a purpose in life,
absolutely.
and
But
I could very easily just stay home. And I have four cats that live outside. I have an 11-year-old Shih Tzu, and I have a ailing husband. But I'm also on my board of directors for my HOA. I was president for 6 years, and I still work within my community, Spring Valley area, and that gives me great pleasure because I care about my neighborhood. My house here is so perfect for an old person. There's no stairs. So I run away from the thought of ever going into a nursing home, and I think it's going to be okay, but I worry about other people. Um, we have to we have to create we have to create housing for everybody,
Yeah, we do.
and I think we all have to be a part of that, not just me or you or somebody else, but we all got to get on the bandwagon of getting support from from our Congress people. Nevada is blue, and we have a great governor, Steve Sisolak. I love him to death. He's so good. He was in our pride parade this year, and he's amazing.
Yeah, yes.
And he's he understands everybody, and he's the way the world should be, more understanding of all people. But we're
Absolutely.
so lucky to have him and Dina Titus and Jackie Rosen. Oh, Jackie Rosen, I helped elect her.
Yeah,
It wasn't
there you
easy.
go.
Well, we had to overthrow somebody. What was his name? Dean Heller. Oh,
Mhm.
had to get rid of him. It wasn't easy. But we have Nevada's blue, very very easy and open to living with. It's a very Las Vegas is the most diverse city in the country now. I think that was the latest reports.
That's what I heard. So
And I hope to think that I had something to do with that too,
amen, I think you
because
did.
everybody's moving here. There's so many jobs. My God, all the new casinos need people desperately.
Yeah, they do.
I'm 77 years old, and I got a call from one of the casinos recently, and they said, "Are you interested in going back to work?" I said, "Oh, no, not
No.
full time. I don't mind part time, but not full time."
Man, I'm going to work when I want to, not when you schedule me.
That's right.
Oh. So at your age, nobody would blame you for going home, putting your feet up and saying, I did a good job, because you have.
Well, you know
But
what?
go ahead.
I do believe in a unified society where everybody has the same opportunity. Uh, no one has the right to be over anybody else. Everybody should have the same opportunities,
Right.
but
But
everybody should be willing to work for them.
right. In the last couple of months, you've opened a couple of resources for transgender people, like the Transgender Resource Center and the Nikki Woods Center. And I was
Oh,
wondering
Nikki.
if you would like to talk about either one of those.
I would love to talk with Nick about Nikki Woods. Nikki Woods, we opened up the Nikki Woods Social Justice Center Foundation at 3500 East Harmon, just off Pecos. We have a complete building, and it's with the Abundant Peace Church with Wolford Moore. But the building
It's
is
like a totally separate building on the church
Yes, it
property, right?
we have 5 buildings on that campus, but one building is dedicated to Nikki Woods.
That's amazing.
Nikki Woods, I'll tell you about Nikki Woods. May I?
Yes, please do.
Okay. I met Nikki Woods way back when we were trying to create it was already created, but we wanted to add to, it's called a safety dorm at the Salvation Army for
Mhm.
transsexuals. But it also, it houses GLBTQIA people as well. But I've seen many transgender people go through those doors of the safety dorm, but we needed money, and because the Salvation Army works really, really well with our community here. And now Nikki and I would raise $1,000 a month to go for this center, for this safety dorm, and she was a pleasure. And Nikki, oh my God, I'll tell you about Nikki. I have never in my life met a more spiritual, beautiful person. She is the one who got me involved with the Abundant Peace Church. I was going through some depressions about my situation at home, having to deal with my husband's sickness. And she said, "You need to go to church." I said, "I'm in church all the time." I said, "God is always with me.
Yeah,
God is always with me."
I like that answer.
And I started going, and but Nikki was an energy, and in our society, I've never met a more perfect person because she never talked bad about anybody. It was always positive.
Yeah, I was there at the grand opening of the center, and
I know you were.
the amazingly positive things that people said about Nikki Woods for over an hour anyway. Um, I wish I would have met them, and I did not have that
Well,
pleasure.
I miss her dearly because we would get together every day for breakfast, and she had two dogs that she loved, and I miss her dearly because every morning she would call to see if I was okay because
Yeah,
we both had COPD asthma,
right,
and that's where sometimes your body does not get enough oxygen.
right.
Like in one case, one time we stopped at a red light and she was falling asleep because she was going through a phase where her body was not getting enough oxygen. And but truly, truly a beautiful person,
Yes,
and I miss her dearly. We need more people like Nikki.
yes, we do. We need more people like you as well.
Well, I'm
So,
still here. I'm
yes.
not going anywhere.
Well, yes, but you need to train people to be you. Oh,
Well, that's not. No, you know what? People want to have to be themselves, but
that,
always be positive. Look for something. Always try to create and be involved with something that's helping others. We have a coat drive right now. We're hoping to raise enough money. On my Facebook, I'm doing. We hope to have about 5,000. Well, 5,000. Actually, we could do it with 4,000. Every year, this is our third year. We buy coats at Burlington Coat for the
and
homeless,
so
and
you're
we're
giving
going to have
brand new, unused coats to the homeless people.
beautiful coats at a low, low, low price. And
That's awesome.
this year, we're going to have the event here at the center. Let me see. It's going to be December the. Someone just
17th, I think.
Oh, you're right. Thank you. I wrote it
You
down
nailed it.
because we were at that meeting. Yeah, December the 17th. So we hope to have the gay men's chorus. We hope to have food, and we hope to have something for everybody. And I hope the weather's nice because and we'll have the coats on racks and people can pick out what they want.
Yeah, we live in
And
Vegas. The weather's always nice, right?
yeah, well, you never know. Sometimes it turns cold.
Yeah, it does.
But I lived
Well,
here for 21 years, but I really miss New York a lot.
do you?
I love that city. That was
I
my
don't
city.
miss Maine at all.
No, New York
No.
is basically where I like the energy in New York. It's
Yeah,
very
yeah. It's hard not to be charged
yeah.
up just walking down the street and all the activity going on.
Oh God, yes. Oh
So
yeah.
we only got a couple more minutes here, um, and I always feel it important to ask somebody as important as you that has done a lot
Oh,
of
I'm
these
not important. I'm
interviews.
just me.
Well,
I'm
you're
just
important to
here.
me. You're important
Thank
to
you.
me. So, but you've done a lot of interviews over the years. Is there a question that you've always wished somebody would have asked and they never have?
Um, I've always wondered why I survived.
Yes. Well, God had a better plan for you and kept you alive so that you could be here today. And I'm very, very glad that you did survive.
I think often of the ones that I saw leave in the 70s. I saw so many people pass away. I remember the AIDS epidemic and all the traumas that were associated with that. But I've
That,
seen a lot of people pass in my lifetime, and I really feel so sorry that the ones that gave up.
yes, that's
The
the
sad,
saddest part, isn't it?
the sad thing about it is our system is not always easy to work with. Our system,
Well, no, because I mean, first of all, if they're transgender, it's difficult to be financially stable, and to get psychological help, you need money. So they can't get any help because they don't have any resources available.
Well, we think here at the center now we have that with the Arlene Cooper Health Center. We have a lot of facilities here. And working with UNLV, we have dental care now.
Awesome.
A lot of great things are happening here.
Yeah, amazing things happen at the center, don't they?
Oh, yeah. And I'm so glad you got involved with it.
Oh, geez, it was totally by accident, but it was the best accident I've been in a long time.
When I first met you, I knew that you would eventually find a conduit to expressing yourself. And
I appreciate that.
I think that here at the center, we have that. And
Yeah,
this year they made their fundraiser was $500,000 at Caesars this year. So we're getting more and more support, and there'll be
Amen.
more federal funding. We just got to create the housing units.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, housing is a huge problem here in Las Vegas. And if you're transgender or out of the binary, it's even twice as difficult than
oh, we
the
know
normal
it.
person.
We know it, don't we? Oh,
So it's horrifying. All right, so I only got a couple minutes here to wrap all this up. Judy, I want to thank you so much for being a
oh.
part of my show.
I
Um,
want to thank you. I want to thank you for being a part of trying to make a difference in other people's lives. That's what we're all here for, you know.
yeah,
But you know
absolutely.
what? I've achieved I've achieved everything in my lifetime that I ever hoped to, and I'm just thankful to God that I'm still here. But it's too bad I don't know how to knit or crochet. I was thinking the other day, well, I have a home here. I have 4 cats and a dog and a husband. What will I do if I stop going to meetings and stuff? And
Mm,
well, I can't I can't crochet, and I can't knit. But
needlepoint maybe.
well, that possibly. We can always create avenues of energy.
Yeah,
But thank you
absolutely.
so very much.
Well, I can't thank you enough for being a part of the show. I think it gives me a little bit of legitimacy having somebody like you on my show. Um,
Oh no,
so I'm very happy that you were here. And
thank you.
a quick shout out to Bosch, who's been in the background trying to take care of everything and get rid of my staticky problem. So, Bosch, thank you very much. Judy, thank you. I can't thank you enough, a million times over. Um, I hope that your Transgender Day of Visibility Film Festival that's going on like in 2 minutes right here at the center,
Yes,
which is why we got to wrap this
a
up.
lot of movies are
And
going to be shown today, and
a bunch of short movies.
yes,
And so,
visibility. It's all about visibility. Feeling
absolutely,
comfortable in your own skin.
there you go. Being who you are happiest as.
Mind over matter.
That. If you don't mind, it don't matter.
That's right.
Oh. Anyway, Judy, thank you very much. I think we're
Oh,
going to wrap it up here.
thank you
And
so much.
if you weren't in the other room, I'd give you a great big hug.
Well, I'll hug you as soon as I get out of here.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.